What if I told you the reason you're not investing has almost nothing to do with money? You've done the math. Rent, groceries, bills, maybe a car payment. By the time the dust settles, there's nothing left. And then some guy online says start investing like you've just been forgetting to, like there's a secret pile of cash in your couch you haven't checked yet. That's insulting. And I think you know that's not your problem. Your problem isn't discipline. It's not that you don't care about your future. It's that the math feels impossible, and nobody's being honest with you about that. Here's what nobody in finance wants to admit. The amount you invest matters way less than the strategy behind it, and there are moves you can make, real, concrete moves that work even when your bank account says otherwise. I'm going to walk you through them. No hype, no fake promises, just the honest playbook for building something when it feels like you have nothing to build with. And some of what I'm about to say might surprise you. Let's get into it. Here's something most financial content won't say out loud. The biggest reason people don't invest isn't because they don't know how. It's because they don't feel like they're allowed to. Think about that for a second. You've probably seen the articles, How to Retire a Millionaire, Why You Should Have Started Investing in Your 20s, The Power of Compound Interest Over 30 Years, and all of it sounds great in theory. But when you're 34 and you've got $600 in savings and a credit card balance you've been carrying for 2 years, that kind of advice doesn't inspire you. It makes you feel like you already lost, like the train left and you weren't on it. That feeling, that sense of being too late, too behind, too broke to even begin, that's the real barrier. Not the lack of a brokerage account, not the lack of information. It's the belief that investing is something other people do. People with better jobs, people with no debt, people who figured it out earlier. And I want to be really direct with you here. That belief is wrong. But it's understandable because almost everything in the financial world was designed to make you feel that way. The minimum deposits, the jargon, the interfaces that assume you already know what an index fund is, the way people talk about money online like everyone has a six-figure salary and a side hustle pulling in $3,000 a month. None of that reflects normal life. And when the gap between what you see and what you live is that wide, of course you check out. Of course you think, that's not for me. But here's what's changed, and this is worth paying attention to. The landscape has shifted, not in some dramatic overnight way, but meaningfully. You can now open an investment account with literally $0, not 100, not 50, zero. Platforms like Fidelity, Schwab, even some features inside apps you might already use let you buy fractional shares. That means instead of needing $500 to buy a single share of an S&P 500 index fund, you can put in $5 or $3 or $1. That's not nothing. I know it sounds small, and honestly, $1 isn't going to change your retirement. I'm not going to stand here and pretend it will, but here's what that $1 does. It changes the story you tell yourself. It shifts you from I can't invest to I do invest. And psychologically, that shift is enormous because once you see yourself as someone who invests, even tiny amounts, your decisions start to change. Your attention sharpens. You start noticing where money leaks. You start caring about the future version of you in a way that feels real instead of abstract. The first dollar you invest isn't really about the dollar. It's about breaking the wall between you and the system. It's about proving to yourself that you belong in this space, even if you're starting from almost nothing. Nobody talks about that enough, and they should, because that's where the real shift begins. So let's talk about the most common pushback, and it's a fair one. Okay, I hear you, but I literally have nothing left at the end of the month. Where's this money supposed to come from? I'm not going to dismiss that. If your income minus your expenses equals zero, or worse, negative, then no motivational speech is going to manufacture dollars out of thin air. That's real, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. But here's what I've noticed, and I say this with respect, not judgment. Most people have never done a true audit of where their money actually goes. Not a budget, not a spreadsheet with color-coded categories. I mean, sitting down with your bank statement the last 30 days and just looking, line by line. No shame, no guilt, just looking. When you do that, something interesting tends to happen. You find the ghost spending, the stuff that leaves your account so quietly you forgot it was there, a streaming service you haven't opened in 2 months, a subscription that auto-renewed and you didn't catch, the $4.50 coffee that's fine on its own, but it's happening 4 times a week, which is $72 a month, which is $864 a year. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy coffee. Please buy the coffee if it's the one thing keeping you sane, but know that it's there. See it, because you can't make decisions about money you don't know you're spending. And sometimes in that audit, you find $20 a month, maybe $30, maybe only $10. And here's the thing, that's enough to start. Now I know what you might be thinking. What's $10 a month going to do? And in isolation, not much, let's be honest. $10 a month in an index fund earning an average of, say, 8% annually, after 20 years, that's roughly $5,900. That's not retirement money, but that's also not the point right now. The point is the system you're building. Because $10 becomes $20 when you get a small raise, or when you cancel something you don't need, or when you find a way to shave $15 off your grocery bill. And $20 becomes $50, and $50 a month over 20 years at 8%, that's close to $29,000. Still not a fortune, but that's real money. That's an emergency fund. That's options. That's breathing room your future self will thank you for. What I'm describing isn't a get-rich strategy. It's a pressure valve. It's the beginning of a system where your money does something besides disappear. And there's one more piece to this that people overlook. If your employer offers a 401k match, even a partial one, and you're not contributing enough to get that match, you're leaving free money on the table. I don't say that to make you feel bad. I say it because a lot of people don't realize that a 401k match is the closest thing to guaranteed return you'll ever see. If your company matches 3% and you're putting in 0, that's 3% of your salary that was available to you, and it just vanished. Not because you spent it, because nobody explained what it was. So before you think about fancy investments or complex strategies, start with 2 things. Look at where your money actually goes and check if someone is already offering you money that you haven't claimed yet. Those 2 steps cost nothing, and they change more than you'd expect. All right, so let's say you've done the audit. You found some room. Maybe it's $15 a month. Maybe it's $40. The next question is obvious. Where do you actually put it? This is where most people get stuck. Not because there aren't options, but because there are too many. You start looking into it and suddenly you're drowning in acronyms. 401k, Roth IRA, traditional IRA, HSA, HYSA, brokerage account. Every corner of the internet has a different opinion on which one's the best. It's paralyzing. So you do nothing. And honestly, I get it. Let me simplify this. If you're just starting and your money is tight, you only need to think about 2 or 3 things, in a specific order. First, do you have an emergency cushion? I'm not talking about 6 months of expenses. That number gets thrown around like it's easy, and for most people, it's wildly unrealistic. I'm talking about something, $500, even $300, sitting in a high-yield savings account so that when life throws a surprise at you, and it will, you don't have to put it on a credit card. A high-yield savings account right now pays around 4 to 5% just for having your money there, compared to a regular savings account paying 0.01%, no-brainer. That's step 1. Not glamorous. Nobody makes viral content about opening a savings account, but it's the foundation. Without it, every financial plan you build is sitting on sand. Second, if your employer offers a retirement match, contribute enough to capture it. You don't need to max out the account or understand every fund option. just get the match. If your employer matches dollar for dollar up to 3% of your salary and you earn $50,000, that's $1,500 a year someone is handing you for free. Over 10 years with growth, that could be over $20,000 for money that wasn't even yours. If you've done those two things, you're ahead of a huge number of Americans. Almost 60% of adults say they couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing. So if you've got a few hundred set aside, you're moving. Don't let the internet convince you otherwise. Now, if you've got the cushion, you're getting the match, and there's still a little room, this is where a Roth IRA makes a lot of sense. In plain language, a Roth IRA is a retirement account where you put in money you've already paid taxes on. It grows over time, and when you take it out in retirement, you don't pay taxes on the gains. You pay taxes now when your income is lower, and withdraw later tax-free. For someone not earning a massive salary right now, that trade-off is incredibly favorable. You can open one with $0 at Fidelity or Schwab, invest in a single index fund that tracks the total stock market, and you don't need to pick stocks or watch the market daily. Set it up, put in what you can, and let time do the work. It's not exciting, but it's real. And real is what matters when you're building from a tight place. There's something that happens once you start, and nobody really prepares you for it. You set up the account, you put in your first $20. Maybe you automate it, $10 every paycheck, quietly moving into your Roth IRA or your savings. You feel good about it for a week, maybe two, and then you check the balance. And it's $41, maybe $42 if the market had a decent day, and this voice in the back of your head says, "This is pointless. What am I even doing? This is never going to amount to anything." That voice is loud, and it's convincing, because in the short term, it's technically right. $42 isn't going to change your life. It's not going to pay off your student loans. It's not going to cover your next medical bill. And when you see people online showing off portfolios with 6 figures, your $42 feels embarrassing, like bringing a plastic spoon to a sword fight. But here's what that voice doesn't understand. It's measuring the wrong thing. It's measuring the balance. It should be measuring the behavior. Because what you actually did when you moved that $10 automatically from your checking account into an investment, you built a system. A tiny one, an imperfect one, but a system. And systems are what eventually produce results that willpower alone never could. You didn't just put away $10, you made a decision about who you're becoming. And that decision, repeated over months and years, is the thing that compounds, not just financially, but psychologically. Think about it this way. Brushing your teeth tonight won't save your teeth, but brushing your teeth every night for 30 years will. No one looks at a single brushing session and says, "Well, that was pointless." You understand that it's the repetition that matters. Investing small amounts works the same way. The individual deposit is almost irrelevant. The pattern is everything. And here's where I want to be careful, because I'm not trying to turn this into some believe in yourself speech. The math still matters, so let's look at it honestly. If you invest $25 a week, which is roughly $108 a month, into a total stock market index fund averaging around 8% a year, in 25 years you'd have approximately $96,000. You put in about $32,000 of your own money. The rest, almost $64,000, came from growth, from time, from your money making money while you were sleeping, working, living your life. Now, $25 a week isn't easy to find, I know that. For some people watching this, it's genuinely not possible right now, and that's okay. The number isn't the point, the principle is. Whether it's $5 a week or $50, the machine works the same way. You feed it consistently, and time does the heavy lifting. The trap is quitting because the early numbers look small. The trap is comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. The trap is letting impatience talk you out of the one thing that was actually working. So if you've started, even if it feels ridiculous, even if the numbers seem meaningless, stay in. Don't check the balance every day. Don't compare it to anyone else's. Just keep the system running. Because 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you'll look back at this moment and realize it was the turning point. Not because of the amount, because of the decision. And if you haven't started yet, that's fine too. You're here, you're watching this, you're thinking about it differently than you were 20 minutes ago. That counts for more than you know. Let me bring this home. If you've stayed with me through this whole video, I don't take that lightly. In a world full of financial content that talks down to you or tries to sell you a dream, the fact that you spent these minutes here tells me something. You're not looking for hype, you're looking for something real. So here's what I want to leave you with. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need a perfect budget, a 6-month emergency fund, and a maxed out Roth IRA by Friday. What you need is one move. One concrete thing you can do this week that puts you closer to a financial life that doesn't feel so suffocating. Maybe that's opening a high-yield savings account tonight. Takes 10 minutes, you don't even need to deposit anything yet. Maybe it's logging into your employer's benefits portal to check if there's a 401k match you haven't been using. Maybe it's pulling up last month's bank statement and just reading it, not judging it, just seeing it clearly. Or maybe it's setting up an automatic transfer, $5, $10, whatever, into a Roth IRA or savings account so it happens without you thinking about it. Pick one. Do it before this week ends. Because the difference between people who build something and people who stay stuck isn't income, it isn't luck, it's the willingness to start before it feels ready, to take a step that feels small because you understand that small steps taken consistently become distance. And I'll be honest, this won't feel good right away. You're not going to set up an automatic $15 transfer and suddenly feel free. But beneath the surface, something is changing. You're building a floor under your feet. And one day, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, regular Tuesday kind of way, you'll realize you have options you didn't have before. That your future is something you're actively shaping even in small increments. That's what investing on a tight budget really looks like. Not glamorous, not fast, but honest. And it works. Now, if you've made it to the end with me, I genuinely appreciate that. If any of this made something click, or if it just felt good to hear someone talk about money without pretending everything's easy, subscribe to this channel. This is what we do here. Honest conversations about money for people living in the real economy. And there's a lot more coming. Welcome if you're new. One last thought. There might be a question sitting in your mind right now. What if it's too late? And honestly, 10 years ago would have been better. That's just math. But the alternative is sitting here a year from now wishing you'd started today. You already know how that feels. Even inside a system that wasn't built for you, there are moves you can make. Small, quiet, stubborn moves that add up. Nobody gets to tell you it's too late to make them. Start this week. Start small. Start anyway.